On Christmas Eve, I showed up unannounced at my daughter's doorstep. What I found shattered my world. My sweet girl huddled outside in 32-degree Fahrenheit weather, no blanket, no coat, just shivering like a leaf in the wind. Inside, my son-in-law's family was toasting with champagne by a roaring fire, laughing like nothing was wrong. I burst through that door, scooped her up in my arms, and uttered 6 words that changed everything. But if you're tuning in, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to Grandma's Life channel, and drop in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far this tale of revenge and redemption has traveled. My name is Evelyn Harper, and at 68 years old, I've got more stories etched into these wrinkles than most folks could imagine. Some are sweet as apple pie, grandkids giggling over homemade cookies, summer barbecues in the backyard. But this one? It's raw, it's painful, and it's the kind that needs telling, so no other grandma has to watch her baby girl suffer in silence. People see me now as just a retired school teacher from a quiet suburb in Portland, Oregon, with my knitting needles and my garden full of roses. They don't know the fire that still burns in me, the one that ignited that fateful Christmas Eve. It all started when I hopped off the plane at Portland International Airport, my old duffel bag slung over my shoulder. I'd been visiting my sister in Seattle for a week, helping her through a rough patch with her health. But Christmas? That's family time, and I couldn't wait to surprise my daughter, Sarah. She was my only child, my sunshine after her daddy passed too young from that heart attack. Sarah had always been the dreamer, the one who'd sketch fairy tales in her notebooks and beg me to read them aloud. Now, at 32, she was married to Mark Thompson, a hotshot real estate agent from a well-to-do family. I thought he was good for her. Steady job, nice house in the hills overlooking the Willamette River. But lately, her calls had been shorter, her voice thinner, like something was eating at her soul. The taxi ride from the airport was a blur of twinkling lights and holiday traffic. Snowflakes danced under the street lamps, and carols played faintly on the radio. Silent Night, my favorite. I leaned back, picturing Sarah's face when I'd knock on her door. She'd squeal, wrap me in one of her bear hugs, and we'd dive into baking gingerbread men like we did every year. The driver pulled up to their address, a cozy 2-story with a wraparound porch, all decked out in fairy lights and a giant wreath. But as I paid and stepped out, crunching through the fresh snow, something felt off. The yard was a blanket of white, untouched except for a single set of small footprints leading to the porch. No shoveled path, no welcoming glow from the front door. Through the bay window, I could see the living room alive with warmth. A massive fir tree sparkled with ornaments, stockings hung by the mantel. The Thompson family was gathered around a long oak table laden with feast, honey-glazed ham, creamy mashed potatoes, green bean casserole bubbling with fried onions, and pumpkin pie slices glistening under the chandelier. Mark's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, Robert and Patricia, sat at the head, clinking crystal glasses of bubbly. Mark's brother, Derek, was there with his wife and their 2 rambunctious boys, all in matching ugly Christmas sweaters, roaring with laughter. The fire crackled merrily, casting golden flickers on their faces. But where was Sarah? A soft sob caught my ear, barely audible over the wind. I turned, and my blood ran cold. There, on the porch swing, curled up like a forgotten rag doll, was my daughter. She wore nothing but a thin cotton nightgown, her bare feet tucked under her, arms wrapped around her knees. Her hair was matted, face streaked with frozen tears. The thermometer on the wall read 32 degrees, freezing point, and she was out here like discarded trash. "Sarah!" I gasped, dropping my bag and rushing to her. I stripped off my wool coat and draped it over her trembling form. Her skin was like ice, lips blue-tinged. "Oh, honey, what happened? What are you doing out here?" She looked up, eyes wide and haunted, whispering, "Mom, is that really you?" Then she collapsed against me, sobs racking her body. I held her tight, rubbing her back, my mind racing. How long had she been out here? Why? From inside, laughter boomed again. Mark's voice carried through the glass, "Another toast to family, the real kind that pulls its weight." Glasses clinked, and someone cranked up Jingle Bells on the stereo. Rage boiled up in me like a pot left too long on the stove. I scooped Sarah into my arms. She was lighter than I remembered, frail like a bird, and marched to the door. I didn't knock. I kicked it open with a force that rattled the hinges. The room fell silent. Faces turned, smiles freezing. Patricia spilled her champagne, staining the white tablecloth. Robert half rose, brow furrowed. Mark's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed. "Evelyn, what the hell?" I stood there, Sarah in my arms, snow melting off my boots onto their pristine rug. "You left her out there to freeze," I said, my voice low and thunderous. "She's coming home with me, now." I'm pausing here because stories like this hit hard. And if you're feeling the emotion, show some love. Subscribe to Grandma's Life and like this video. Your support means the world to an old lady sharing her heart. Let me back up a bit, paint the picture of how we got here. Sarah met Mark 5 years ago at a charity gala in Portland. He was charming, all smiles and promises of a big future. I liked him at first, brought flowers when he picked her up, talked about building a family. They married in a beautiful ceremony at the Rose Garden, me walking her down the aisle with tears in my eyes. But cracks showed early. The Thompsons were old money, real estate tycoons who looked down on common folk like us. Patricia once sniffed at Sarah's homemade quilt gift, saying, "How quaint." Robert grilled her on her career ambitions, ignoring that she was a talented graphic designer working from home. Then came the miscarriages. The first one hit like a freight train. Sarah called me at 2 a.m., sobbing that she'd lost the baby at 8 weeks. I drove through the night to hold her. Mark was supportive at first, but as the second, third, and fourth happened, his patience wore thin. "Maybe it's you," he'd mutter. The Thompsons piled on. "Our family line needs heirs." Sarah sank into depression, locking herself away, barely eating. I'd send money for therapy, groceries, anything. But on calls, she'd whisper, "They're saying I'm useless, Mom, that I can't even do the one thing a wife should." That Christmas Eve, I'd decided to surprise her after no answer to my calls. The airport was buzzing with holiday cheer. Families reuniting, kids with Santa hats. I grabbed a coffee, texted her, "On my way, can't wait." No reply. Unease gnawed at me. On the taxi ride, I spotted an old friend, Officer Lena, directing traffic near the bridge. She was a former student from my days volunteering at the community center teaching self-defense to women. "Evelyn," she called, waving me over. But her smile faded when I mentioned Sarah. "Everything okay over there?" she asked, eyes shifting. I pressed, but the light changed, and she just said, "Be careful." Now, bursting into that house, I faced the wolves. Mark stormed forward. "Put her down. This is embarrassing." Patricia chimed in. She was being dramatic again. We told her to come inside, but she insisted on fresh air. "Fresh air?" I roared. "In this cold? She's hypothermic." Sarah whimpered in my arms, and I set her gently on the couch, piling blankets over her. The kids, Derek's boys, giggled. "Aunt Sarah's in trouble." Robert cleared his throat. "Evelyn, this is a family gathering. Sarah's issues are private. 4 miscarriages? It's unfortunate, but she needs to toughen up. Our family doesn't do weakness." Mark sneered. "She's always faking it to avoid helping. If not for my folks, I'd have divorced her ages ago." Derek's wife nodded. "Useless without kids. What's the point?" Each word was a slap. I thought of Sarah's sketches of nurseries, her dreams shattered. "You monsters," I said. "This is abuse." They laughed. "Patricia, abuse? We're the victims here putting up with her laziness." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." Mark's face paled. "You wouldn't." But I did. As sirens wailed in the distance, I held Sarah, whispering, "It's over, honey. You're safe." If this is stirring something in you, pause and subscribe to Grandma's Life. These stories aren't easy to tell, but they need to be heard. The police arrived, Lena among them. She took statements, her jaw tight as she saw Sarah's state. She said, "This looks like neglect." The Thompsons blustered about misunderstandings, but Lena filed a report. I took Sarah home to my cozy bungalow in the suburbs with its quilt-covered couch and herb garden. That night, I made her chicken noodle soup, her favorite, and we cried together. The next days were a blur. Sarah saw a therapist, Dr. Ramirez, who diagnosed severe depression from the losses and verbal abuse. "He needs support, not judgment," he said. I organized evidence, bank transfers I'd sent for her bills, medical records, texts from Sarah detailing the insults. Lena helped, testifying as a witness. I saw the footprints. She'd been out there hours. But the Thompsons had pull. Robert was a retired city councilman with friends in high places. The divorce trial was brutal. In the Portland courthouse, cold as the winter outside, our lawyer presented everything, but their side twisted it. She's unstable, faking for sympathy. A housekeeper testified Sarah did nothing. A secret recording Lena had from the porch was thrown out. Illegal. The judge, an old Gulf buddy of Robert's, ruled divorce granted, but no abuse recognized. Assets mostly to Mark. I exploded. "This is corruption." Guards escorted me out. Mark whispered, "You lose, old lady." Lena nearly punched him, but Sarah begged, "No violence, please." Public outrage followed. News headlines. Family abandons daughter-in-law in cold? Justice denied? The courtroom video went viral. Comments, "Shame on the Thompsons." Their business tanked. Clients fled. Sarah healed slowly. Lena visited often, bringing flowers, then dinners. One day she confessed, "I don't care about kids, Sarah. I care about you." They started dating, and Sarah bloomed. Now, in 2025, Sarah's thriving as an artist with Lena by her side. The Thompsons? Isolated. Their empire cracked. Revenge isn't always fists. Sometimes it's truth setting you free. If you were me, would you fight or walk away? Comment below. Subscribe to Grandma's Life for more real heart stories. God bless, and remember, courage wins. Check the links for our top videos. Thanks for listening.